Highlights of the action-packed Volkswagen Rally is proudly presented by Motorsport South Africa and its partners Toyota, Volkswagen, Ford, Sasol and Dunlop. It's the middle of winter, and this is the feared Longmoor Forest in the Eastern Cape. Time to tackle the Volkswagen Rally. Welcome to round 4 of the prestigious South African Rally Championship. After visits to KwaZulu-Natal, Mpumalanga and Gauteng, the gravel racing spectacle now reaches its 4th province. This is the very popular Volkswagen Rally, literally held in the backyard of the automotive giant. But hosting a rally on home soil means added pressure.
We'd worked really hard leading up to this event. The team had put in a lot of effort, so we're certainly hoping for a good result. It's important to have one on your home event.
The Volkswagen Rally will kick off from its traditional starting point at the VW Pavilion in Uitenhage. But the majority of the 180 kilometres worth of special stages will be contested deep inside the Longmoor Forest, a place that is feared and respected by the drivers. The large number of loyal rally fans will also be catered for with a number of spectator-friendly stages in and around Port Elizabeth and the holiday town of Jeffreys Bay, before the winners will be crowned in the shadow of the Nelson Mandela Bay Stadium. Defending champion Marc Cronje finds himself down in an uncharacteristic 5th place behind Hans Weiss and Henk Lategan. And the names of Toyota teammates Hergen Fekken and Leroy Poulter share the top spot with 57 championship points apiece. Prestigious Volkswagen Rally honours are up for grabs, and these are the gravel road warriors that will go all out in an effort to get them. Defending champion Marc Cronje had a slow start to the season, but fought back with a convincing victory on round 3.
Absolutely, we've had a challenging start to our year, but we've had good pace. It's just a matter of putting the events together.
From a Ford perspective, Cronje will be assisted by a very able Japie van Niekerk. But all eyes will be on the Volkswagen home team, who will have the added pressure to perform well in front of their employers. Gugu Zulu is still finding his feet in the top S2000 class and has some catching up to do.
It is the highlight for the Volkswagen family, so we're out here to give it horns and see how far we go.
Hans Weiss has seen the 3rd step of the podium twice so far this season, but the Dutchman will aim higher this weekend, while his young teammate Henk Lategan will want nothing more than to claim his first career win in a VW on the Volkswagen Rally.
It's very, I think, alluring to push and try and go for a win.
So the Toyota boys will have their work cut out to stay on top this weekend, as both Ford and Volkswagen are out to get them.
Yes, I'm sure they will. We had a very good start to the season, 3 events down, and we're leading the championship with Leroy.
And Leroy Poulter will not only have to fend off the challenge from both Ford and Volkswagen, but also from his own teammate Hergen Fekken.
It's going to be a tough event. I think we've all put a lot of hard work into this, and we'll see what happens.
And Toyota will also have the added services of the Dakar legend Janelle de Villiers in his Imperial Toyota Yaris. And remember to keep an eye out for the slightly older S2000 challenge machines of Namibians Wilro Dippenaar and Thilo Himmel. This is the moment that everyone's been waiting for. The 12 o'clock start time of the Volkswagen Rally at a packed VW Auto Pavilion in Uitenhage. It's the Ford of Japie van Niekerk that is waved off first, ahead of a similar machine driven by defending champion Marc Cronje. Leroy Poulter will start from behind on the road, while hosts Volkswagen will start their attack with Hans Weiss in 4th, ahead of de Villiers, Zulu, Fekken and Lategan. From the Volkswagen Pavilion in Uitenhage, the crews will tackle stage 1 on a newly constructed rally road on the outskirts of Port Elizabeth, before heading into the infamous Longmoor Forest, where the real rally action will begin.
The much-awaited Volkswagen rally gets underway with Jaapie van Niekerk and Gerard Snyman dropping the clutch of their new Africa Developments Ford Fiesta. And exactly 2 minutes later, it's the turn of defending champions Mark Renier and Robin Houghton to do the same. Current championship leaders Leroy Poulter and Alvin Coetzee are the next ones to begin their VW rally onslaught, but all local Eastern Cape eyes were on the first of the Volkswagen Sassel Racing Polos in the hands of Hans Weiss and Bjorn de Gant.
Into stay mid of the junction.
Up ahead, Jaapie van Niekerk arrived at the flying finish of the 16-kilometer stage in a time of 11 minutes and 53 seconds.
Turn southern left six. Left six here.
Mark Renier likes to get out of the blocks fast, and this is no different as he reaches the end in 11 minutes and 44 seconds.
It was tricky, extremely slippery.
Cronier's time was fast as his arch-rival Leroy Poulter in the Castrol Toyota Yaris could only manage a time of 11 minutes and 52 seconds, or 8 seconds slower. The hanging dust was already becoming a problem, but it did not stop Hans Weiss from setting a fast time of 11 minutes and 50 seconds. And the Imperial Toyota Yaris of Janelle de Villiers and Greg Godrich was the next car to reach the end of stage 1, but a little off the pace, with a second of the Volkswagen Sassel Racing Polos of Gugu Zulu and Carl Peskin in hot pursuit.
Right 8.
That didn't help, we were blinded a couple of times.
Championship co-leaders Hergen Fecken and Kellen Swan set off behind the wheel of their Castrol Toyota Yaris. But tragedy struck as Fecken was forced to park his car on the side of the road with an electrical problem. With Fecken out of the action, it meant one less competitor to worry about for Volkswagen Sassel Racing's Henk Latergan and Barry White, who set the second fastest time, just 5 seconds slower than that of Cronje.
Time to take on the famous Culturama stage. 20 kilometers of fast sweeping gravel roads that will take the cruise deep into the heart of the infamous Longmoor Forest.
To the drivers, this is like driving a Grand Prix on gravel. The new Africa Developments Ford of Jaapie van Niekerk and Gerard Snyman is the first car to taste the dirt of the Longmoor with a time of 11 minutes and 6 seconds.
Difficult to be in the front, especially on the fast stuff. You don't know what to expect.
Van Niekerk's time was fast, but not nearly as fast as the 10 minutes and 45 seconds set by champions Mark Renier and Robin Houghton. The number 24 Ford Racing Fiesta driver had made his intentions very clear and early on.
Man, it's unbelievable. This put a smile on any rallyer's dial. That's incredible.
Castrol Toyota's Leroy Poulter and Alvin Coetzee knew that they could not afford for their rival Cronje to get an early advantage, so they pushed hard. But 10 minutes and 52 seconds was 6 seconds slower. Hans Weiss and Bjorn de Gant in the first of the Volkswagen Sassel Racing Polos reached the end of Culturama, but a full 25 seconds off the pace.
It was good, but it was really difficult to find a good rhythm.
Janelle de Villiers and Greg Godrich managed to go 4 seconds faster than Weiss, but the Imperial Toyota was still well off the lightning pace set by Cronje. And trouble for the Volkswagen Sassel Racing Polo of Gugu Zulu and Carl Peskin, who was losing loads of time. And even more trouble on the horizon with his teammates Henk Latergan and Barry White approaching fast. Latergan eventually managed his way past the Polo of his teammate, but both cars clearly lost valuable time in the process.
I don't know what happened, but on the road, somehow the power steering just went.
He was driving in front of me at really slow speeds the whole stage.
Behind the main and factory S2000 cars, it was the Volkswagen Polo of Thilo Himmel and Armand de Tooy who led the field, ahead of the PZN and North City panel beaters Toyota of fellow Namibian Wilro Dippenaar and Kees Naidoo. Dippenaar lost loads of time with mechanical issues on stage 1, so he had a bit of catching up to do.
Finally, a 30-minute breather in the Dunlop service park for both man and machine as they prepare for tough times that lie ahead in the Longmoor Forest. Sadly, for championship co-leader Hergen Fecken, he will not be a part of it anymore.
I'm not sure what's happened. I think there might be a problem with one of the valves. So in the stage, it just got a little bit worse and we just started to stop.
Stage 3 takes the cruise through the Gamtoes Valley on a fast and narrow road, while the 23 kilometres of Stage 4 or PPC winds its way through the heart of the Longmoor with absolutely no margin for error.
Once again, it's the new Africa Developments Ford Fiesta of Japie van Niekerk and Gerard Snyman who thunders into the stage from first on the road. Van Niekerk completed Stage 3, but the Fiesta grounded to an agonizing halt halfway through Stage 4 with an overheating engine. A sad end for the businessman. One Ford was forced to retire, but one still remained, and it's the number 24 Ford Racing Fiesta of rally leaders and defending champions Mark Cronje and Robin Houghton. Cronje blitzed through the Gamtoes Valley in a time of just 8 minutes and 58 seconds and covered the 23 kilometers of Stage 4 in just 14 minutes and 25 seconds to set the benchmark. Cronje's arch-rivals Leroy Poulter and Alvin Coetzee had a deficit of more than 14 seconds after the opening 2 stages, so the Castrol Toyota driver had it all to do, and he did not disappoint. On Stage 3, Poulter managed to decrease the deficit by 3 seconds and shaved off another second on Stage 4 to end this loop of stages 10 seconds behind the leaders. Hans Weiss and Bjorn de Gant in the leading Volkswagen Sassel Racing Polo was now not only the third car on the road, but also third on the overall standings. Weiss pushed hard on the 40 kilometers that made up these 2 stages, but could not quite keep up to the leaders to finish this section around 50 seconds behind. And chasing the Polo of Hans Weiss was none other than Imperial Toyota's Dakar hero Janelle de Villiers with co-driver Greg Godrich. De Villiers is as steady as they come, but he had some catching up to do if he wanted to close the gap to the top 3 ahead of him. While Hans Weiss was flying the flag for rally hosts Volkswagen, it was turning out to be a challenging day for his teammates Gugu Zulu and Carl Peskin, as well as Henk Latergan and Barry White. The Longmoor Forest simply does not take any prisoners, and both Zulu and Latergan failed to record clean runs on these 2 difficult stages, but there was still a long way to go. Latergan completed Stage 4 in 5th position on the overall leaderboard, ahead of the PZN panel beaters Toyota of Namibian Wilro Dippenaar and Kees Naidu. Dippenaar lost around 4 minutes on Stage 1 but fought back by setting the second fastest time of all on Stage 3 to climb to 6th on the overall leaderboard. Not so lucky was fellow Namibian Thilo Himmel and Armand de Tooy, who were in 7th overall before crashing out in Stage 4. Fortunately, they were both able to walk away from their stricken polo unscathed.
2 stage wins each for Mark Cronje and Leroy Poulter, but it's Cronje who holds a 10-second advantage over his rival. Hans Weiss is the leading Volkswagen in 3rd, ahead of Janelle de Villiers in 4th, while Henk Latergan endured a challenging afternoon to occupy 5th.
It's back to the Gamtoes Valley for Mark Cronje and Robin Houghton, who blasted out of the Longmoor Forest on their way to the holiday town of Jeffreys Bay. The number 24 Ford Fiesta took another stage win, but more importantly managed to beat his rival Poulter by 10 full seconds to extend his lead over the Castrol Toyota Yaris to now 20 seconds. And status quo for the rest of the frontrunners, with third-placed man Hans Weiss also setting the 3rd fastest time to maintain the Volkswagen Sassel Racing Polo's advantage over the Imperial Toyota of Janelle de Villiers and the sister Polo of Henk Latergan.
The Volkswagen Rally is not all about the Longmoor Forest, but also about the spectators who got a chance to get up close and personal to the action in the popular town of Jeffreys Bay. The sun was setting over the Eastern Cape, but with a stage on the tarmac of the Fountains Mall, as well as a stage on the streets of J-Bay, the action was far from over. It's great for the crowds, but tough for the drivers who have very little to gain and lots to lose, as a small mistake or contact with one of the many pavements can easily rip a wheel off. But no such trouble for Mark Cronje, who continued his winning ways by extending his overall lead over the chasing pack. After the break, we return to gravel for the conclusion of the popular Volkswagen Rally. Will hosts Volkswagen be able to grab glory? Will Poulter be able to challenge for the lead? Or will Cronje stay on top?
Watch blockbuster movies and be rewarded with Mnet in July. 2 lucky winners and their partners can escape to the Cutty Sark Hotel and Resort for 5 nights of leisure, including bed and breakfast. This bumper prize, valued at 42,000 Rand, includes hotel transfers as well as flights, courtesy of Kalula.com. To enter, simply tell us which museum is featured in the movie Night at the Museum. What online game gets Richie in trouble with the FBI in the movie Runner Runner?
I've been 3-tabling. Statistically, it's the right play.
Who is the award-winning singer-actress that stars in The Wedding Planner?
Oh, are you okay?
Which fraternity do Mike and Sully join in the movie Monsters University?
This is a fraternity house?
Where in South Africa is the Cutty Sark Hotel situated? SMS your answers to 33694. Closing date is 31 July. Make your lifestyle a lifestyle of leisure with Mnet.
This is the final day of the Volkswagen Rally in the Eastern Cape. No fewer than 8 stages covering a distance of nearly 100 kilometres remain. It's defending champion Mark Cronje who heads the overnight standings with a 37-second advantage over Leroy Poulter. Hans Weiss is somewhat down in third, but ahead of Janelle de Villiers and the second Volkswagen driven by Henk Latergan. The locals have high hopes for Hans Weiss and his Volkswagen to climb further up the leaderboard. But is it possible?
No, we will not catch him because the gap is too big.
And is there anything that Leroy Poulter can do about the gap to first place?
We'll keep the pressure on us as much as we can.
And with a fairly comfortable lead of more than half a minute, Mark Cronje was exactly where he wanted to be.
Well, that's exactly what our challenge was yesterday, to make sure that we had a reasonable pace and get through the day clean, which we've done.
The morning's opening loop of stages were tailor-made for spectators, with a repeat of stage 1 from the day before, and no fewer than 2 runs over a specially constructed Mawetu Super Special stage, where 2 cars would race each other over different loops of the same piece of gravel.
Its rally leader Mark Cronje must square off with his challenger Leroy Poulter in the first bout of the morning. And it's the Ford of Cronje who extends his advantage over the Castle Toyota by another 3 seconds. This battle between Janelle de Villiers and Hans Weiss is also a battle for third overall. De Villiers has lots to do if he wants to catch Weiss, but every bit will help as the Imperial Toyota beats the Volkswagen Sassel Polo by a mere 2 seconds. And this is the battle between Volkswagen teammates Gugu Zulu and Henk Latergan. The Polo of Zulu was quite literally on fire as he beats his teammate by 1 second. Off to stage 9 for the number 24 Ford Fiesta of rally leaders Mark Cronje and Robin Houghton, who blitzed through the 15 kilometers of rock-strewn gravel roads in a time of 10 minutes and 36.1 seconds. Leroy Poulter and Alvin Coetzee were now running out of time and distance in their efforts to try and chase Cronje down. So Poulter threw caution to the wind. 8 minutes and 36 seconds. It is faster, but only by 1/10 of a second. Hans Weiss and Bjorn de Gant had to protect their current third place, but the Volkswagen Sassel Racing Polo was nearly a minute late to arrive at the end of stage 9.
Puncture. We have to go.
The flat tyre on the Polo of Weiss was all that Janelle de Villiers and Greg Godrich needed, as the Imperial Toyota Yaris climbed to third on the overall standings, while a luckless Weiss dropped to fourth. Fifth at the start of the day belonged to the second Volkswagen Sassel Racing Polo of Henk Latergan and Barry White. But Lady Luck also turned her back on the youngster as he too arrived at the end with a punctured tyre. It's back to the Port Elizabeth Oval Racetrack for yet another run on the Mawetu Super Special stage. The Super Special is just over 2 kilometers long, so no real chance for the drivers to make up time. And it's Mark Cronje who continues his winning ways by claiming yet another stage win as he edges a further 3 seconds ahead of Leroy Poulter. Janelle de Villiers beats Hans Weiss by the narrowest of margins of just 0.3 of a second, while Henk Latergan turned the tables on his teammate Zulu, but it did little to affect the overall leaderboard. Behind the top and factory S2000 machines, young Namibian Wilder Dippenaar and co-driver Kes Naidu were fighting their way back up the leaderboard behind the wheel of their older PZN and North City panel beaters Toyota. But Dippenaar also ran out of luck when mechanical niggles forced him to retire after stage 10.
It was back into the Longmoor Forest for another run over the 20 kilometres of Culturama. The stage up and over the mountains into the Longmoor Forest, where legends are born, but where dreams can also be shattered.
Mark Grenier would have been very aware that Culturama can play a huge role in the overall outcome and decided to stamp his authority on the event once and for all by taking yet another stage victory. Leroy Poulter fought bravely in a last effort to try and put pressure on the leading Ford, but the Castle Toyota had no option but to concede another 3 seconds to the leader. Just 21 seconds separated the Imperial Toyota Yaris of Janelle de Villiers in third place from the current fourth placed Volkswagen Sassel Racing Polo of Hans Weiss at the start of Culturama. Weiss would have been aware of the pressure on his shoulders to reach the podium for sponsors Volkswagen, but de Villiers was in no mood to concede anything and extended his lead over the Dutchman to 28 seconds. Both the Volkswagen Sassel Racing Polos of Guga Zulu and Henk Latergan were recovering from their earlier troubles, and although not really within striking distance of a podium finish, ready to pounce should any of the frontrunners run into trouble of their own.
Grenier makes his mark by extending his lead at the top of the leaderboard with Leroy Poulter now 46 seconds behind. Janelle de Villiers moves into a potential podium place finish ahead of the Volkswagens of Hans Weiss and Henk Latergan. Stages 12 and 13. More runs through the Gamtoos Valley and the Longmoor Forest would surely decide the outcome of the Volkswagen Rally.
With a lead of around 46 seconds, Mark Grenier and Robin Houghton could actually afford to take it easy, but the Ford racing driver simply kept his head down and recorded yet another 2 fastest times to stretch his overall lead to now well over a minute. Inside the Castle Toyota Yaris of Leroy Poulter and Alvin Coetzee, Poulter knew that he had lost the battle. A puncture on stage 14 also didn't help his cause, but for all practical purposes, the fight was over. One fight that was far from over was the battle for a final and coveted podium place finish between the Imperial Toyota Yaris of Janelle de Villiers and Greg Godrich and the Volkswagen Sassel Racing Polo of Hans Weiss and Bjorn de Gaan. De Villiers had a very good rhythm all day and looked set to finish on the podium, but the engine underneath the bonnet of the Yaris cried enough on stage 14, forcing him to the side of the road. There would have been smiles on the faces of the Dutch and Belgian duo as they passed a stricken Toyota to regain third place and a possible podium finish. Lady Luck was about to show her final cool hand when the Polo of Henk Latergan left the road on stage 14, bringing an end to the youngsters' challenging weekend. It did, however, propel his Volkswagen teammates Guga Zulu and Carl Peskin up into 4th position overall.
Back in the Dunlop Service Park, Hans Weiss was not too unhappy about moving into 3rd.
At least we are in 3rd position now, we get points for the championship.
And Leroy Poulter had no choice but to settle for 2nd.
Well, I'd want to, but I think, Mark's going really, really well.
And with just a few kilometres to go, Mark Grenier could now almost taste the sweet taste of victory.
I can, but it ain't over until it's over.
This is the last few kilometers of the Longmoor Forest and the last real chance for anyone to try and make a move. Mark Grenier was in firm control, and just to ensure that there wasn't any doubt, the Ford Racing Fiesta delivered one last knockout punch by also setting the fastest time on this stage, his 10th stage victory in 14 stages. The Castle Toyota of Leroy Poulter had no choice but to throw in the towel as there was nothing more that he could do. Poulter emerged from the forest in 2nd position. And Hans Weiss consolidated his third position overall with the third fastest time on the stage, ahead of his Volkswagen Sassel Racing teammate Gugu Zulu, who would have been relieved with his fourth position after enduring a character-building event. With the overall battle just about settled, it was time for the young guns of the Super 1600 class for front-wheel drive cars to jockey for their final positions. Youngster Ernie van der Walt and co-driver James Aldridge enjoyed a good weekend to emerge from the Longmore Forest with an unscathed Ferrado Ford Fiesta to claim third place in this hotly contested class. But the battle for class honours was something to witness, with the talented Chad van Beerden and co-driver Nico Swartz and their Beerden Construction Volkswagen Polo slogging it out with the Yato Tools Toyota Etios of Guy Bottrell and Simon Vasilao. Van Beerden held a slight advantage over Bottrell going into the final day, but the latter slowly reeled him in before making his move on the final gravel stage. It was Bottrell's fourth rally win in as many events, and a big step towards claiming his first rally title.
But one more challenge remained before the victory champagne could be sprayed. A short stage on the tarmac in the shade of the impressive Nelson Mandela Bay Soccer Stadium.
And the last chance for Hans Weiss and Bjorn de Gant to reward sponsors Volkswagen with a fine drive to reach the finish of the Volkswagen Rally in third position. The casual Toyota Yaris of Leroy Polter and Alvin Coetzee crossed the flying finish to reach the end of the Volkswagen Rally in a fine second place. But what a dominant performance from Mark Cronje and Robin Houghton, who won no less than 10 of the 15 stages, led from start to finish and raced to their second successive victory.
Mark Cronje ends on top of the final classification with a comfortable victory margin of 1.5 minutes over his rival Leroy Polter. Hans Weiss claims the final step on the podium, with his teammate Gugu Zulu claiming the points for fourth. Guy Bottrell wins Class S1600 and finishes fifth overall. Rally hosts Volkswagen pulled out all the stops to celebrate yet another successful Volkswagen Rally with a podium ceremony in the shade of the Nelson Mandela Bay Stadium. And another podium finish for Dutchman Hans Weiss, who now also moves to second in the overall championship.
I think this is quite nice to have at least one car on the podium.
Leroy Polter may have lost the battle, but he now leads the wall.
You know, we lead the championship now, and good building on, we can carry on from here.
But what a drive from defending champion Mark Cronje, who dominated the Volkswagen Rally.
Yeah, I think that's really the approach, is to take it one rally at a time and make sure that we put it together every rally.
And a reminder to also join us next week for the highlights of the Super 1600 battle that took place on the 2014 Volkswagen Rally. From the Eastern Cape, we head back to Gauteng for round 5 of the 2014 South African Rally Championship, the Gauteng Rally. It will still be winter in and around the town of Cullinan, where the rally will be based, so dust will be a big factor as the battle for rally supremacy continues. Join us in Gauteng on the 15th and 16th of August. Highlights from the Volkswagen Rally Round 4 of the 2014 South African Rally Championship was presented by Toyota, Volkswagen, Ford, Sasol and Dunlop.